Yeah, we're going to talk about these cards. Licori's a bit disappointed. I think disappointment is... I am expecting people to be disappointed, but I also think that it's fine if you are. Because it's not about... You have to see it from a different... Maybe look at it through a different lens, perhaps. I think we have to look at it through a different lens. Rogue Digit, what's up, my man? Some might say amazing art wasted on mediocre arena meme cards. I mean, here's the thing about Gwent is... If a card is bad, amazing art is wasted on it because all the art is good. First of all, this was an easy card cycle for the voice actors. They didn't need any of them because I imagine the IHUARRAQUAX, that card is just going to be the unicorn neighing. So no new voice lines at all. That's something for sure. And yeah, I mean, there's that part. But I mean, they are arena cards. And here's what I saw on the social platforms that we love. That when they announced that they were going to release 10 cards that were meant for the new arena mode, everybody's like, oh God, here come 10 create cards. But I knew that wasn't going to be the case. I think that what the Gwent cards set out to do here was, or what Gwent set out to do here was create cards that would be useful in arena. That is to say, they would not be bad cards in arena, but would be unappealing to play in Constructed. And I think for the most part, they succeeded. You want to mess around with the IHUARRAQUAX unicorn? Yeah. That one's, I mean, it's interesting, right? Stefan Scout, well, we'll get to it. I think that combo is not good because if that becomes meta and you expect your opponent is doing that, just push them. Just don't let them win a round. Because then they'll play their 7-point gold on nothing. Maybe. I mean, maybe that's how it'll go. I just don't think that that's even that good combo. Well, let's talk about this one here. So this is the first card we're going to talk about. Yennefer Necromancer. So we have Yennefer representing Nilfgaard once again. That traitorous mage. Even though she's from Aedirn, which is a northern realm. She's representing Nilfgaard here. And Yennefer Necromancer. 5-power gold card. Resurrect a bronze or silver soldier from your opponent's graveyard. So... let's talk about the soldiers that you would want to just really... Let's actually just... It's going to go in the collection. I'm just going to type in soldier. Maybe Kieran. But I mean, like, are you rezzing Genja? Like, you res Genja maybe to stop them from rezzing Genja. I don't know, like, if that's the thing that's going to happen in Arena. But I guess Genja. You get your Bearmaster. That's probably pretty good. You'd play that nice and fast to get the Bearmaster out. I mean, and then you have all your really crappy 3 strengths, 4 strengths that aren't very good that you'd res either. Spotter maybe in some situation, but unlikely because I don't think we're going to see many spotters in Arena. Maybe a buffed Brigade, Nausicaa Brigade. I don't know about that. I don't know. Like, I just don't think it's going to be that great. Maybe like a Knight Elect, perhaps. The Encrate Marauder might be the best thing because it's actually better if it's resurrected. But then it starts to, I mean, it's just not that great. Like, it's just, I don't think it's going to be super, super good. If you look at the high body armor, the high body soldiers, you're looking at like Berserker Marauder, Fried Neophyte, stuff like that. The Encrate Warrior, Nilfgaardian Knight. So I think that, like, you'll be lucky to get like 18 out of this card. You'll be lucky to get 18 out. But now, that being said, in Arena, 18 for a gold, probably pretty good. Probably pretty good. Greatsword? I mean, yeah, if you can damage it. Yennefer Vikavaromatic? Yeah, I mean, is it going to be better than Vikavaromatic? I think that you'd probably get like 18 strength off this card would be good because I think that most of the cards that can get 18 strength right now, most of the gold cards are not able to achieve that in a non-constructed format. So I think that you'd probably want to grab the Bearmaster to be happy, and you're probably going to see a lot of Bearmasters because that's going to be a highly drafted card in Arena, so you probably will get a Bearmaster from this card. But generally, I think that this card is going to be a fairly... I mean, you don't have to give up a gold slot for this card. This card could be the best gold you pick out of 4 choices. But I don't know. It would have to be up against some pretty bad ones or some pretty meh cards. Like, if I had a choice to pick this or Priscilla, I'd probably pick Priscilla. So that's saying something, right? It's dead versus monsters, but it's dead versus it's not dead in arena because there's no monsters in arena. There's everybody, everything. So yeah, you wouldn't now if you're talking I'm talking about arena only. I'm only grading this on an arena scale. And even that I'm still saying that Priscilla is probably better than this card. So there's that. And then you have to look at it from a constructed standpoint where this card is bad in well, it's probably okay in every matchup against monsters, but it's not good. Because you're not getting a lot of you may be able to disrupt strategy, grab a Dragoon or something like that. It might not be that bad, but you're probably not running this card. But I mean, all of these cards could be cards that you maybe want to run with like Johnny. So your card is OP in the situation that it's good, but you can trade it out in a situation where it's bad. But then again, why don't you just put in a good card, right? Just put in a good card. That's how I feel about that one. Next. All right, so, okay, so what do you guys think about it, though? You guys think it's a better, like it's like Vico, might still be dead? Yeah, it might still be dead. She can only do 8 points like a Glaze? Yeah. Well, she could be 8. I mean, yeah, probably. But she has that silver, she has the silver soldier thing. But the silver soldiers aren't even that good. They're not good. The good silver soldiers are not soldiers, they're officers. Vreemd is like the only, wait, hold on, Vreemd isn't even one. Vreemd isn't a soldier. Vreemd's an officer that creates a soldier. I was using my filter. Oh, man. Yennefer is not good, right? It's not good. Just not a good card. I don't think we'll be picking it. I think that it might need a body boost. Might bit of a body boost. Let's talk about Roche here. So, Roche Merciless. Destroy a face-down ambush unit and then draw a card. So, this is a card that is arguably OP if there was an ambush card on the board every single game. Because it is a 5 strength card that deletes a card off your opponent's board, and you get a card. And you get a card. The drawing a card aspect of this condition being met is too good to not make this card terrible. And that's like a thing that you'll see in card games a lot. You'll see a card with an effect that is so strong that it has to be made terrible for it to be at all playable. And in this case, it is so terrible that they had to make the upside so like incredibly grandiose that even if you had a prayer of hitting this card, you would take it. So, do I think that people will draft ambush cards in Arena? Yes, there are some good ones. Melena's good, Teruviel is good, and especially if you can draft something that helps ambush cards like Isengrim, you would probably take that card. Do I think that people will take Roche Merciless on the assumption that people will draw and will draft ambush cards? That is a very high risk to take. But again, just like Yennefer Necromancer, this card does not eat a gold slot. This card is just a gold card. It's just a card in your deck. That being said, a card in your deck likely has to be better than 5. That also being said, since the deck is not a thinning, synergistic deck, you would just mulligan this card away. You may draw it. It may not be good. But you wouldn't mulligan it away because at any given time your opponent could have an ambush card. You would mulligan it away in round 3. Maybe. So, as a card in your deck, do you think that people will draft ambush cards? I think yes. Do you think people will be hesitant about drafting ambush cards because this card exists? That's the real question, I think. And I think that the answer is no, because I think that people largely believe that this card will not be worth drafting. Does that make it more appealing to draft? Yes. It is a real scaly weighing of scales situation. And I don't know ultimately what this card's reception is going to be. I think the card is too good and too bad at the same time. But I also think that you'd never play this in Constructed unless there is a Scoia'tael Northern Realms faction battle going on. You will never, ever, ever play this card in Constructed unless you're playing Johnny and Johnny is on your ADC and you have some way of I don't know. Like, you'd have to be something like that. Make a Menno do 4 damage or destroy an ambush card? Well, yeah, right? Like the Geralt card. that seems to be better, but then you'd have to take the draw card off of him. You'd have to. Because then you just have, even if this card was any better than it currently is, it would be too strong. Because then you're playing a card that conditionally draws you a card. It's so good. What damage cards do you draft? Cheruviel, Milena? Well, new Morenn, perhaps. I don't know, maybe. Wasting the opportunity to get an actual good gold card? Yeah, but what if this was up against, like, Camby? Think of cards worse than this card. Think of cards worse than this card. Camby, some other gold that interacts with... I don't know. I can't... Off the top of my head, I'm really bad right now. You'd literally take Shackles over this? Yeah, but it would never be up against Shackles. You know, there can be more Dryads in the future if that archetype is the ambush. They'll need to change the effect, but you still wouldn't run this card. Even if Squirtle was 60% play rate, you still wouldn't take this card because what do you do when you're not playing against Squirtle? It's just not worth it. It's not worth it to hinder your deck so badly. Yeah, I think that generally, I mean, it's weird, right? Just delete the ability and print a new one. It's interesting that they had to make this card so extremely good and bad at the same time. Let's move on. My analysis of it, I don't know. I really don't know if people are going to play this or not. Dandelion Vainglory. This card is awesome. 9 power. It says 9 power, but I say strength all the time. 9 power. Boost self by 3 for each Geralt, Yennefer, Triss, and Zoltan card in your starting deck. So, if you were to see this in an early draft, you could meme a bit. The thing is, you don't have to meme too hard, because every gold card is a selection of 4 gold cards. There are currently 4 Geralt cards in the game. There are currently 3 Yennefer cards in the game, and there are 2 Triss cards in the game. But there will be 3 Triss cards, 4 Yennefer cards, and 6 Geralt cards. Did I fuck all that up? 5 Geralt cards. Whatever. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cards in the game that are Geralt, Yennefer, Triss, and of course there's 2 Zoltan cards as well. So that's a lot of cards in the pool of gold cards. So if you got Dandelion early, go for it. Because like I said before, an 18 strength gold is going to be good in Arena, and this has the potential of being even more than that. This has the potential of being the Siri Nova of Arena. You would have to start picking those cards, though. None of those cards are bad in Arena, even if they get removed, whatever, Yennefer Conjure, Triss Butterfly Spell. You probably still take those cards. So this card, I think, is actually going to be a hot Arena pick, but you have to get him early for it to be really good. But the thing is, maybe you pick Igni anyway. Maybe you take Ard or Erden anyway, because you think that maybe you might, you know, it's going to be good enough, and you have a chance of getting Dandelion Vainglory. So, yeah. So, in Constructed, Dandelion's only ever going to be 18 points. So, because you can only put 3 other gold cards in the game, and they're all gold cards. This card can be much bigger than 18, but if even at 18 base, it's pretty good. Don't think I'm ever going to craft this. No, I'll craft this card for the memes for sure. I'll make a lore. I'll make a Witcher 2 lore deck or something like that. Witcher 3, Witcher 2, and Witcher 1 lore deck. Although you can't have any Yennefer in any of those except for the third one, I guess. But anyway, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. That's why you have Zoltan, right? This card is really cool. This card could actually be a powerhouse. The thing is, you can put your opponent on having this card based on the golds they start playing, right? I like this card in concept because I think that it's going to be a very good Arena card if you draft it early, and a mediocre constructed card that requires you playing a lore deck. Moving right along. This card I think probably has somebody's going to figure out a way for this card to be good, but at first glance this card seems absolutely terrible. But somebody's probably going to figure out a way to make this card good. IHUARRAQUAX. 7 power, deal 5 damage to self. When this unit's current power equals its base power, deal 7 damage to 3 random units. So, in a vacuum, this is a card that is 2 strength that you need to boost to make it good. Okay? Fine. If you play it and it needs to be boosted on board, you better believe someone's going to remove this card. So it's probably beyond that, right? However, when you boost it from hand, when you play it, you automatically get its effect. So Stefan Skellen can draw this card and have it go off at 28 strength in a good situation. So yeah, that's kind of scary. But the thing is, you need to have Stefan Skellen in hand round 1 for this to be good, because if Stefan Skellen comes down round 2 and this card is in the game, I imagine that I would just push the hell out of this. I would make me very hesitant to dry pass on Nilfgaard, I think. Very hesitant to dry pass on Nilfgaard. Plus, Hawker supports. Hawker supports would make this card pretty good too. You need to have a long round. Your opponent needs to have 3 things on the board at 7 or higher for this to be maximum potential. And I don't believe that'll happen all that often, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Is this a repeating ability? It's a very good question. Can you buff it, damage it, and buff it again? I wonder about that. Now, does it have to be exactly 7? I think it does, which makes Hawker supports unable. You can't do it with Hawker support. Oh, you know what? Yeah, Hawker support wouldn't be able to do it. If it has to be exactly 7, then it would take a little bit of trickery, right? You need to get a Neophyte to hit or a Dragoon to hit. You'd only need it to hit... I mean, I don't know. If it's over 7, then this card is much better, right? Also, if you just heal it with an Armor Smith, that's enough. But I mean, it's probably not going to get its full value. Yeah, I don't think it is. But if it does, you have to work at this card for it to be a better Expired Ale. Kind of when you look at it like that. I like pushing for short round 3s personally. I like decks that function well in short round 3s. I mean, there's probably going to be a lot of people that try this card. So get used to maybe seeing people trying the old horse butt here. Geralt Professional. 7 strength, deal 4 damage to an enemy. If it's a monster unit, destroy it instead. I mean, here's the thing about this card that people might not be realizing. The monster's bronzes are not that great. The reason being, monsters' bronzes are highly synergistic and by themselves, kind of like Northern Realms. Northern Realms and monsters' bronzes are probably not all that great. Squirtle bronzes are good. Skellige bronzes are okay. And Nilfgaard bronzes are okay too. I think Squirtle have the best ones. Maybe. I have to review maybe all the cards in the game to be sure about how good the factions are. But I don't think the monsters' bronzes are that good. So it's going to be pretty rare. And now I think the monsters have some good golds. And I think that if you hit... Like, I think this card is going to be as good as Eskel Pathfinder, personally. Igni Eskel in Arena? Terrible for a gold? I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, I'm talking about bronzes, but I'm also thinking, like, some of the best silvers are not bronzes, are not monsters cards either. Like, there are some good silvers for monsters, to be sure. There are. For instance, like, the best card that this card could destroy. Goliath. That's about it. I mean, maybe. Goliath, Giant Toad, Manticore. If we're talking about, like, really good units here. I mean, we're looking at the bodies, right? I mean, like, Caranthir and IMLERITH are... I mean, sorry. Caranthir is going to likely get drafted. Likely going to draft Caranthir. You might even draft Old Spear Tip. But then you're getting 17 and 16 points off this card. I mean, I think that probably 18 might be the baseline for good gold in Arena. If we're talking about good. I just don't know. I just don't think it's going to be that good. A Forktail, perhaps, because it's probably going to consume, like, it's probably going to have a high strength value. Although I don't even know if I draft a Forktail. A Ghoul, maybe? Ghoul actually might be a pretty good target for it. But I mean, like, I'm trying to find the best opportunities for this card to excel. You'd probably draft a Fiend, maybe. It depends on how bad the bronzes are that you're looking at, so maybe it kills Fiend. I don't know. I think it's probably okay. It's okay, right? It's an okay card. Vrans, maybe. Huge Unseen. Oh, well, yeah. Unseen if you draft Unseen, I guess. Makes Unseen even more unseen, I'm sure. Yeah, Forktail, perhaps. Necroconsume Arena. Again, we're talking about something that affects one faction only. So this is not a card you're going to put in. This is a 0 out of 5 in a constructed, right? 0 out of 5. Morenn, Forest Child. 6 power ambush. When your opponent plays a bronze or silver special card, flip over and cancel its ability. So it is Old Ida. Morenn is Old Ida. Now, this card, unlike every other card we've looked at, is not bad in constructed either. So, but I would say this card is probably better in constructed than it is in arena. Because in arena, I mean, you probably take a bronze or silver special here and there in arena. You probably will. But the thing is, this card mimics Teruvial, and that's what makes this card so strong. Teruvial is the only ambush card that doesn't flip over after a set amount of time. So this card looks like Teruvial. So you can bamboozle with this card. Isengrim can't bamboozle with it, but from hand you can. So you would need to test this card. And if you test this card, then you've played 0 points and your opponent's gotten 6 points. However, playing this card is also 0 points. So it kind of just stalls out. So if you contest this card, like, I don't know, man. I don't think this card may not be that great, but bamboozle potential might be high. I don't know, but it's good with like, as a gold card, as a gold slot. I don't know. I don't think it's good for gold. It's a counterspell card, but it's gold. They changed Ida's ability. She was too strong for a silver. Maybe she was. She doesn't flip over at any point if your opponent does not play a special card. So I don't think it's good. I also think it's risky to play in an arena. But I think if you play this card like early in round 1, you might get value or force your opponent to pass. I don't know. If Trivial didn't exist, every other ambush in the game would be bad. Not necessarily. But yeah, it definitely makes every ambush better. Hard to get value from it. I agree. Negative tempo, kind of. Test it? I mean, you can't really test it because you can't, like, it's not like Hearthstone where you test counterspell by playing a spell. Because then you can continue your turn. In Gwent, you can't do that. Scorch, Mandrake, Artifact running rampant. Some metas, this will see some play. Yeah, I mean, in any deck, in any meta where Scorch is huge, you might want to drop this. But I think in Constructed, this card is better. Like, much better than in Arena. But in Arena, it might be okay. I don't think you drop this in Arena. Maybe the most interesting card we see. CERYS, Fearless. 6 power, resurrect the next unit you discard. So let's, under the assumption that this card needs to be on the board for its effect to take place, this card is okay. On the assumption that this card's ability triggers when you play this card, and then automatically the next thing you discard comes back regardless if she's on the board or not, it's an amazing card. This card is better in Constructed than in Arena. And there's probably there's so much potential for this card to be good, I don't even know where to start, just kind of off the top of my head. But I was talking about it in the Discord. I was talking about it in the Discord, and I was thinking, like, Lugos would make this card very, very, very good because you Lugos something for huge value, and then you get that card on the board. Also, like, makes any card like an End-Crate Raider. Any card becomes an End-Crate Raider that you can discard. So, like, and the Marauder that has the extra boost when it gets resurrected would be okay, too, with Lugos, so, like, you can just have an insane swing. So, discard generally makes very thin decks to begin with. So, you can reliably lean on a combo in discard. Discard's power level is another discussion, so I'm not going to say the discard's going to be made good by having this card. But discard also, I don't know if it had an open gold slot or not, but I think it did. So you thin your deck down to making sure that you have Lugos in this, you play this, and then you play Lugos, and it's like an insane swing. I don't know how hard that is to orchestrate. Maybe it's not that hard. Maybe it's too hard. But I think that the difficulty on doing that, I mean, Lugos would be probably okay anyway. Maybe you have a backup of a Raider in your hand anyway, so it's not that bad. Maybe you find a way of boosting a Raider or boosting a Marauder to make this even better when you finally, and you maybe smuggle it in. Now we're talking about super convoluted ways to make this work. CERYS and Johnny, very interesting. Because it says the next unit, no bronze restriction at all. So it's interesting. I wonder what would happen if you discarded CERYS-. Because CERYS- never actually exists in the graveyard. So you probably wouldn't get it back. But does that cancel CERYS' ability? Bug test. Gwent science. Gwent ability doesn't fit CERYS' effect. The effect is interesting. If she has to stay on the board, the card is trash. I don't know if it's trash, but it's not as good. Probably gets thundered immediately. Yeah, but you play this late, though. You don't play this early. Unlike the IMLERITH card. You would play this, like, late. You'd play this, like, late round 3. Because you have a plan for this card, but that plan can't... It can't... like, it's like Succubus, right? Kind of like Succubus? Where, if you can make it stick, it's really, really good. And Succubus has a higher opportunity to stick in a deck that is not running... against a deck that is either exhausted all its removal or isn't running any. So, you can use new Geralt and monsters to abuse coin flip for killing the spy. Delta makes a good point. Eskel's better there. Have to have the combo in hand. Well, I'm talking about discard, which is a really thin deck. So we'll see. It's interesting. I think somebody's going to make this work. I'll give it a shot, but I need to get hands on with it. Generally, I need to get hands-on with this stuff. Dandelion, Poet. Draw a card and then play a card. This card is good, right? Am I crazy? This card is just really good. This card is... It takes... Oh, God, it's so good, though, right? Tell me why this card isn't really good. I don't have a bad thing to say about this card. You draw a card, which is cycle, and then you just play something from your hand anyway, which you'd probably play anyway, +6. This card is the best card they showed by a long shot. This card isn't just good in Arena. This card is just good straight up. Old Sasky with having to play a leader. Yeah, there's so many comparisons to other cards that are good that this card is better than, right? This card is going to be in a lot of decks. There's just, like, I just don't see, unless you're worried about bricking a draw, but you wouldn't play this, like, super early anyway. This is, like, a great late card. It's a great thinning card. It's a great cycling card. Like, how low power would this card have to be to not be great? 2? Would it be bad at 2? We're talking about bad. I'm saying bad. Not. I'm saying bad without hyperbole here. Like, I'm not saying like terrible and trash and everything funnels all into bad. We're talking about bad and good. Like, gray area being maybe like, I think this card should probably be like 4. I don't know. Fusion between Emir and John Calvert. Tell me about it, man. It is, right? And it's a gold card you can put in any deck. I'm worried about whatever meta this card is. If this comes in at 6, we might have to suffer through this card a little bit. You might have to suffer through this card a little bit. Looking forward to the Royal Decree, Restore, Weaver's Tribute, Emleth, Will it blend deck? Will it blend? That is the question. We just got rid of Summoning Circle and everyone used Poet for playing the free spy. Well, it's kind of like Rainfarn in that respect, if you have a spy in your hand. So you play Dandelion Roach Spy. I'm worried about how good this card is. This card actually worries me a little bit. But, you know, they probably tested it. 6 strike, this seems too good. TRISS Telekinesis. It's not only that it allows you to draw a card, any card that gives you power on the board that then gives you, like, Rainfarn is good for all the reasons that Rainfarn is good, because you play a card and then play a spy. Heim, you play a card and play a card. It's good. Like, it's because you can play a spy at lower drawback, right? They would play it even if it was a 0-point special card? Well, no. I don't think so. Poet at 1? I mean, it's a cycle card. If you needed to cycle, then yeah. I mean, like, look at Giant Toad. Giant Toad is kind of like... Dandelion Poet. In that you play a card, you draw a card, and then you get power. But you don't get to play a spy, and you don't get to play a card that has an effect. So it's a silver card. So maybe they use that as a baseline? Giant Toad's a good card. Giant Toad's a little low on the play rate, I think, these days. I could be wrong, but I think the card's good. Let's talk about TRISS Telekinesis now. 6 power, create a bronze special card from either player's starting deck. So this card's okay, right? Like, look at like Thunder, right? It's a 15-point gold card with removal. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's like better than Vernon is right now, kind of. You look at it like that. And you can kind of customize what Triss is able to pull because you put special cards in your deck, so she's never going to be dead. I mean, here's what I'm excited about. This card, I think the most exciting thing about this card to me is that this gives spell access to monsters, which currently Monsters doesn't have. But that would be more exciting to me if Quen was in the game. So if this card existed when Quen existed for Monsters, it would be very good. But the reason why monsters and spells don't generally go together is because you just have to play them from hand. There's not really much that, outside of like, what is it, Tribute, that allows you to play organic cards from hand. There's not a lot that really works in favor of monster spell access. So there's that as well. When you compare this to Dandelion Poet, this card seems pretty tempered. Generally. You would get an extra weather in Aridin decks, which is pretty cool. Actually, any deck that runs weather, you get an extra weather, arguably, because you're running frost in an Aridin deck, so you get an extra frost, so that's good. But I mean, you just run Caranthir, right? But then you'd run an extra frost, right? So I'm talking about this and Caranthir. So I mean, I don't know. It's pretty bad though when you compare it to Caranthir. It seems very meh, right? Fourth Winch, fourth Moonlight. It's all true. It's all true. I mean, Talus is already... Well, Talus isn't a fourth Winch. I mean, I don't know. You think this card is underrated, Wizard Calamity? I think this card is probably being properly rated, but I could be wrong. Just keep in mind that it takes up a gold slot in Constructed, but it's probably much better in Arena. Because that's the big thing about these cards, is that they don't take up a gold slot necessarily, in that it doesn't take up your limited use of gold cards. But it could be up against a card that's just better than this. Almost done, guys. And then we're going to get right into challenges because we've already been live for like an hour. The final card we'll be talking about is IMLERITH Sabbath. This card is very interesting, but ultimately I think it's just too easy to remove, so it's probably... It's an interesting situation this card has, in that it has the potential to be very, very good and a great turn one play, but you just remove it, right? Even with Royal Decree, you just remove it. Thunder can kill it. Death Mold kills this. Ida kills this. IMLERITH Sabbath, 5 power, duel the highest enemy on turn end. If this unit survives, heal it by 2 and give it 2 armor. 2 armor. Very snowbally, although limited in what he can do. He would kill a 9 power unit. He would die to a 10 power unit. That 10 power unit would survive with 1 health, I believe. NA math. I don't know. I could be wrong. And then with Royal Decree, he would kill a 13 but die to a 14, I believe. It's interesting, but I mean, it's just so removable, right? I don't know. This card is really hard to evaluate. This is super meta dependent, because if it's a meta that doesn't have a lot of removal, like in a control meta, this card is not good. In an engine meta, this card is much better, and in a tempo meta, this card is also decent. However, usually not one thing dominates completely. In fact, the best decks make the best use of all 3 of those things, like Death Wish, which is why I think that's the best deck in Gwent, Death Wish, by the way. Doesn't it gain 2 armor on the first turn? Yeah. Sorry. It does duel. Okay. Yeah, right. It does duel immediately. I mean, this definitely puts your opponent... This is kind of like Villain Treadmirth in that it really warps the board state. It's interesting. I think the most interesting thing about this card is when people will play it. When is the best time to play this card? Like round 1, 2, or 3? I think if you're bleeding in round 2, this card is super good. And that's why it's maybe the most appealing to me. Probably below average. Monsters have really good golds. It'll see some experimentation, but ultimately, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be that great. Mandrake Renew? Yeah, for sure. I think people will make this work. We're talking about consistent, though. Are we talking about, will you see this below rank 19? Oh, yeah. Will you see this on the way to GM? Maybe. Maybe. Ever since saying that Shoop wouldn't be good, I gotta kind of be very... I gotta sit on this fence all day long. Monsters have really bad IMLERITH, though. Unfortunately. IMLERITH could use some love, I'll say that. Play this Renew would make it a tad bit consistent. You know what? I think I gotta say Jury's gonna be out on this one. I think this one's really hard to evaluate. But I like that they're finding new and interesting ways to put Duel in the game. End of the day, this card needs a couple points. Oh, I don't know. A couple points might make it way too strong. I think what I'm hesitant of saying is that this card is balanced. Just balanced fine. Like, if left on the board, it'll do well. If it requires removal, anything that demands removal in my book is probably better than average because it demands removal. But it's the ease of removal that's the thing. So will this card end up being a 5 strength 4 armor in a lot of situations? Probably. 5 strength 3 armor? Probably. Removing an 8 strength or a 9 strength unit is much more difficult than removing a 7 strength unit or a 6 strength unit. I like the card. Those are your 10 cards. Took me a while. 28th of February, Arena coming out. Silver Spies will not exist. Now, I am on the record saying that I didn't think Silver Spies would be as big of a problem as they are in Constructed. We'll never know if that was true or not. We'll never know if that was true or not. But considering the design decision, you could say that the designers agree that they would be as bad, if not worse. So maybe I'll just have to concede that I could have been wrong, but we'll never really know.